My training regime would start in the October. I would go out and do 250 mile a week, obviously weather permitting that time of year. So stuff will be on the bike, maybe a bit of running, a bit of swimming, just to keep flexible. It's quite a lot of work, around 20 hours training per week. And then maybe December, then you would perhaps bring in an overload week, so you maybe go away somewhere warm like Tenerife, Lanzarote, Mallorca, and you do a real big block of base miles, around 500-600 mile in a week, 30-35 hours. And then I tend to rest up over Christmas, New Year. A typical January for me, I would aim to do between 2,000 and 2,500 mile. Then we usually have a team camp. Metaltek this year we had a team camp penciled in for the last week of Feb. There's a real variation of intervals you can do: 5 minute, 10 minutes, 40-20s, hill rep. And the end of February you'll have a week's rest, recover. And it's obviously really vital that you're eating well, taking on board lots of protein, and not eating fatty foods. You're not going to McDonald's and KFC and whatnot. So you're looking after yourself. Regular massage, stretching. The second weekend of March is when when the racing starts. Build the muscle memory from the previous season. It's important to get that muscle memory back for the racing. And as it gets warmer myself, I like to go. You're really racing, recovering. Then going into April now. So I personally take 2 shots of Beet It 2 hours before. I like to give it time to really settle down.
Well, I train every day, give or take, with 1 or 2 rest days maybe. And it's anywhere between 2 to 4 hours a day. So if it's a shorter ride, most of the time that means it's going to be quite intense. So you'll do like a really long like 40 minute to an hour block in the middle of the 2 hours. And that'll be quite intense, up to sort of like 70-80% of your threshold maybe. Try and eat a bit more protein for breakfast and stuff like that every now and again, especially if you're doing a long one. And then according to what I eat, I just base it off how far I've gone in the day.
At the moment I've been training 1 to 2 hours most mornings before the Tour Series events, just to keep my endurance up. I've also been doing anything between 3 and 4 hours on a weekend, and during the week if I can do. Now the Tour Series has backed off a little bit. I've been getting blocks of 3 days together, doing 4 hours a day. Really trying to improve my endurance now that I've got the speed and the stamina from the Tour Series and Criterium events. I need to add the endurance for the remainder of the season. And I use Beet It before I go out on my bike. I also use it particularly before the crits, the Tour Series events.
Sort of, if I'm doing like a hard ride or whatever, I try to eat enough, like the amount of carbohydrates and protein sort of goes up to like replicate the training load almost. So if I'm doing like a long hard ride, I'll try and get like 100 grams of carbohydrate and like 30 grams of protein in before I do the ride, but all of it is type sort of, because it's like obviously breakfast got in the morning, there's all sort of like oats, walnuts, dried fruit, perhaps like omelette, something like that. With the Beet It, I just take it before a race. I try and take it 3 hours before a race with my race meal. There's so much studies that back it.
Yeah, so this morning I like to get a little bit of protein down me, so I get some poached eggs, not much fat in them. Try and keep away from the fatty stuff like sausages and bacon and all. But I'll have a big bowl of porridge. Try and keep away from sugar as well, really, because you want the energy to be like a prolonged energy effect. You don't really want any sharp, instant energy. Also as well, we obviously take the Beet It juice about 2 hours before the race.